Hi guys, today I'm going to react to the second part of what is the 51st U.S. state going to be. This is part 2. Uh, I have a part 1 video, that link will be in the description, as will be this channel, general knowledge, and this video. So let's start.
Another territory that could become number 51 is American Samoa. American Samoa is also an unincorporated territory of the US located in the South Pacific Ocean, southeast of the actual independent nation of Samoa. Being the southernmost territory of the US, it has approximately 56,000 people and only 199 square kilometers.
Okay, so I think that this has the potential to become a state, but I think that it might have to merge with some territories to have enough, be big enough to be considered a state. I don't think the size is too much of an issue. Uh, I don't really have a problem with it becoming a state with just 100, well, pretty much 200 kilometers of land, but usually states are a lot bigger. Like the smallest, our smallest state, Rhode Island, is still 1,000 miles big. Also, their population is 56,000 people. That isn't that high. It's not even 100,000. Like right now, the lowest population, Wyoming, still has pretty much 600,000 people. You know, there are like a lot of cities that have a higher population, but that's still a lot compared to this. Let's continue.
Although it's still slightly larger than Washington, D.C. Interestingly, American Samoa is noted for having the highest rates of military enlistment of any U.S. state or territory. The Dutch were the first non-native to arrive in Samoa, but the islands were then separated between Germany and the U.S. Germany took what is now the independent Samoa, and the U.S. took their current territory. This was around 1899, but their status
That's just like 1 year after the Spanish-American War.
has remained pretty much unchanged ever since. Apparently, they explored the possibility of statehood in 2005 and 2017, but neither of the times did they manage to achieve the title of the 51st American state. Also, they have one of the coolest flags ever.
I don't know exactly why it's an unincorporated territory. Uh, like that seems a little weird. I don't know why it's different than like Puerto Rico and but, anyways, let's continue.
Samoa is part of an archipelago that doesn't entirely belong to the US, and the same case happens with the US Virgin Islands.
That's very nearby Puerto Rico, you can see. This is Puerto Rico and this is the US Virgin Islands. And I think that maybe wait, I'll see what the video has to say about like how big it is and its population, but if it's not, like if it's small by area, which it looks to be, and has a small population, maybe it could merge with Puerto Rico to become the 51st state.
Officially the Virgin Islands of the United States, these are a group of Caribbean islands and an unincorporated and organized territory of the United States. The islands are geographically part of the Virgin Islands archipelago and are located east of Puerto Rico and west of the British Virgin Islands, which take up the rest of the archipelago. Previously known as the Danish West Indies of the Kingdom of Denmark, they were sold to the United States by Denmark in 1917. Current estimates put the population at around 107,000.
Okay, so that's better than American Samoa, and I think 100,000 might be a good place. It's like a small population compared to like a lot bigger states and just regular states too, and even like the least populated state, Wyoming. But I think 100,000 should be around the population that's minimal that you need at least to become a state. So
there doesn't seem to be any effort towards statehood, but in 1933 there was a status referendum where people got 3 choices. 1, becoming a territory. 2, integration. This wasn't specified, but I guess the only way would be statehood. And 3, independence. 81% voted to be a territory, but participation was under 50%.
I don't know why it opted to remain a U.S. territory instead of integration or independence. Integration also, I thought, might mean the integration with the British Virgin Islands, though I could be mistaken. Maybe it just means becoming a state. Because as a territory, again, like I said in my previous video, you don't really get any representation. So I don't know exactly why they didn't opt for independence or becoming a state, but maybe there's a reason I'm not aware of.
So the results were not valid. However, that is the current status of the islands today. Next and finally are the option of the Northern Mariana Islands. The Northern Mariana Islands, officially the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, are an insular area in Commonwealth of the United States, consisting of 14 islands in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. The status of Commonwealth is reserved for only 2 U.S. territories, the Northern Marianas and Puerto Rico. This means essentially that the territory has its own constitution and self-government, and only through their own decision will these be revoked in order to fully be integrated in the US. These were originally a Spanish colony.
I don't know exactly why they don't, the other colonies and territories don't have this option. I think that's really weird. I think all territories should have the option to be a Commonwealth, but let's continue.
Then being ruled by Japan, and then the US.
In Japan, I'm assuming is during World War II. If you're not aware, during World War II, Japan invaded a lot of places. They invaded Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, I'm pretty sure, but they also invaded the Philippines, China, Korea, and I'm guessing they invaded a lot of tiny islands here too, so I'm guessing they also invaded here.
Until today, the islands are home to around 54,000 people, and it seems statehood is not on the agenda, but there.
Ooh, that was an accident. But 54,000, like American Samoa, I don't think is enough to qualify as a state yet. And also they're pretty tiny, so that's also another problem. I think the best way to get around these problems is either to have representation, which doesn't mean statehood, just which just means having representation in Congress, or integration with other U.S. territories, and then becoming bigger, both population-wise and size-wise, and then becoming states.
There has been some discussion regarding the reunification of the Mariana Islands, especially with Guam joining.
Yeah, okay, I think that would kind of fix it, but I think that a lot of people wouldn't like integration, which I don't think, I think that's why it won't happen. Like, if you think about it, let's say, if you live in the US, or even any other country, let's say you live in the US, alright, and your state was gonna merge with another state. A lot of people wouldn't like that because you're very loyal to your state and you kind of feel, I don't know, maybe embarrassing, or, you like your state and you think that maybe would embarrass it. You think it should remain independent from the other states. Same thing with the countries. So maybe some people also have the same process about joining with other colonies. They have their own unique culture. So, it wouldn't really make sense anyway, I don't think, unless the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam are similar in culture.
Like we saw before. There's also the case of the US's possessions like the minor outlying islands. These are 8 US insular areas in the Pacific Ocean: Baker Island, Howland, Jarvis, the Johnston Atoll, Kingman Reef, Midway Atoll, Palmyra Atoll, and Wake Island, and one in the Caribbean Sea, which is Navassa Island. Except for the Palmyra Atoll, all of these islands are unincorporated and unorganized territories. As of 2019, none of the islands have any permanent residents.
Yeah, so that pretty much eliminates it from being a state, because, and also it's just so incredibly tiny, and I think a lot of these aren't even inhabited, so that pretty much eliminates it from being a state.
So I don't think there's really any point to these being thought of as possible states. In addition, we have other examples of places that could have become US states, but have since gone a different path. For instance, the Philippines had.
This was seized during the Spanish-American War. It was ceded by Spain, and I think there was a war between them and America. I don't remember who won. I don't remember if the Philippines pretty much just forcefully left, or if America granted them independence. But yeah, Philippines ended up going its own way and leaving the U.S.
Had a small grassroots movement for US statehood. It had a significant impact during the early American colonial period.
I think it being a state would be very interesting. It definitely has the population and area. I don't know exactly what the population is. I do know that it has a high one. I'm not sure if it beats out California. Maybe it does. I think it does, actually, now that I think about it. I think it has like 100 million people or maybe even more. I think it would be very interesting to see how it would be to have a state near so many Asian countries. Maybe it would improve relationships or sour relationships even more. You know, like how people in Guam, like, they're like kind of close to North Korea, and I think North Korea has been threatening them with a nuclear war a few times. So I wonder if that would happen with the Philippines too, or if maybe relationships would improve between countries like China and North Korea. I don't know exactly why they would, but it's an interesting thought, I guess.
But is no longer a mainstream movement. Other possible states were mentioned on a video that I did a couple of weeks ago about proposed states that were never created, like the state of Jefferson, Deseret, or Texlahoma. If you want to see more,
Texlahoma? Oh, that's like really uncreative. I'm guessing that it's this one, or possibly this one actually. I know both of these kind of look like it could be one, but anyways.
about this, go to my channel and check that video out. And there is also a separate idea, not of current states dividing or territories / possessions becoming states, but of parts of other countries or entire other countries joining the Union.
That'd be interesting. And other countries becoming states isn't that far-fetched because remember, Texas used to be its own country and then it joined the U.S. Obviously, it's not as big as it used to be. I think it's because of the I don't remember, Missouri Compromise. I think it banned slavery over a certain height, and the country of Texas sort of extended over that, so they had to kind of cut that part out. So I think that'd be very interesting to see another country join. And I think there are many, many, many countries that are smaller than current U.S. states. Like Alaska is like 800,000 miles, and that's bigger than many, many countries. Anyways.
Some very small movements have existed in Canada, which wanted some provinces to join the US, like Alberta or Quebec.
That'd be interesting. Not going to say anything more about that because I don't know anything enough about these independence movements to really make a comment on that, but that'd definitely be interesting.
Cuba.
I wonder how that would change because the U.S. and Canada, they have a lot in common, but they also have like a lot of differences. So I'd wonder how really how that would impact Quebec if they joined the U.S. Like if it got to keep being different or if it had to change. Like I think they have free healthcare there, so I'm wondering if they would continue to have free healthcare or if they'd have to change that.
Also had some movements that wanted to fully incorporate it as part of the US. In 1870, the US Senate took a vote on an annexation treaty with the Dominican Republic, but it failed to proceed. In 1946, the US offered to buy Greenland from Denmark for $100 million.
I think the US has multiple times approached Denmark with this offer. They have I can't think of the word right now, but they were on, they kind of had control of Greenland for a bit, but I think that's, yeah, I remember the word now, it's occupation. They occupied Greenland for a bit, I think after World War I or World War II, but they didn't really get to really do anything with it. Having Greenland would be really important to them. I think it has like a lot of natural resources, including oil. The Arctic and Antarctica, I think, has a lot of that. But anyways, let's continue.
But Denmark refused to sell it. The Azores, Portugal's archipelago in the middle of the Atlantic, had a US-motivated movement to leave Portugal and join the US, and there's also a few other examples. So, that was a quick overlook at what the 51st state of the US might be if it ever comes to exist. Maybe it'll be the Capital Federal District, maybe another random city, maybe a territory, maybe a possession, or maybe even a part of a separate independent country. From my perspective, the most likely case, if there is to be a 51st state, is that it will be Puerto Rico. It's the one that makes most sense out of all these cases. But who knows? If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below and tell me what you think the most likely and or best territory would be. Thanks so much for watching this video.
So I think the ones most likely to become states, I think the first one will be Puerto Rico, and if any more are to come, I think there'd definitely be the territories. I don't really see any other countries joining it, the U.S. anymore. If, like, I think Quebec's movements for independence are not nearly big enough for them to actually join it, and I don't think many other countries would be interested in joining. I think Puerto Rico has the biggest chance of becoming a U.S. state. I think a lot of the other territories like Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa have chances, but I think they need to merge with other territories to become big enough, both in size and population. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more content. Also, leave a comment about what I should do for my next video. See you next time!